some important numbers, you know. The gross NPAs come in at 602 crore, which compares with 570 crore on a quarter-on-quarter basis, while the net NPAs come in at 240 crore, which compares with 225 crore.
As a percentage of assets also we have seen some improvement, because the gross NPAs have come in at 0.77 versus 0.79, and the net NPAs have come in stable at 0.31% of the total assets as well.
Asset quality has never really been an issue for IndusInd Bank, so that was largely expected. We'll also wait by for the NII figure. And like you can see, there's a little bit of profit booking, which generally happens, what the trend generally has been for IndusInd Bank post its numbers, and that's maybe because of the valuations, maybe because the stock itself has outperformed the Bank Nifty on a year-to-date basis as well. So the gross NPA largely stable this time. It's a little bit of an improvement on a Q-on-Q basis. On an absolute basis, there's been around a 30 crore increase on an absolute basis for the gross NPA, and net NPA also unchanged at around 0.3.
Let me give you the NII figure. It's come in at 1,094.95 crore. So that would imply a growth of 31.4%, and that would be a slight beat compared to what you were anticipating at 1,070.
So good numbers.
Yes.
Good numbers coming in for IndusInd Bank. So 1,094.95 crores on the NII figure, which is a 32% growth. It's around a 31.4% growth. 30% growth in terms of the profitability as well. In fact, the NII has stood out this quarter because one is it's quite in line with what we were estimating. We were estimating around a 29% growth, but even the range was quite varied for the NII, and it's coming at the higher end of the range. And if you compare it to the other quarters, what they've done in terms of the NII figures, it was around 19 to 22 odd percent. So it's much better than what they've done in previous quarters as well. The management, remember, had mentioned that they are seeing MHCV activity pick up last quarter. So it'll be interesting to hear what they have to say on the CV cycle, plus what their credit book has looked like. We're estimating that it is going to be led by the retail book, and it's going to be a good 20% credit growth that they will report this quarter as well.
Let me give you one more internal. The provisions have doubled on a year-on-year basis. So provisions stand at 158 crore, which compares with 73 crore year-on-year, which means they've doubled. And even on a quarter-on-quarter basis, it's gone up by 28.5%. So the asset quality is stable, but the provisions have gone up year-on-year and on a quarter-on-quarter basis.
Okay, well, we have Suruchi Jain of Morningstar joining in to talk about the IndusInd Bank numbers. Suruchi, your call in terms of what the numbers have looked like for IndusInd?
So I think the numbers are more or less in line. What we were expecting was like a 600 crore kind of PAT number, and the numbers come at 560. And I think the differential is just basically on provisions. They provided 160, whereas we were expecting, 120 kind of number. So I think that's the only differential. And my guess is that much of it is counter provisioning. It's counter cyclical provisioning. It's not, against bad assets.
Okay. How would you read the NII figure, considering that that's been very healthy at around 30% this quarter?
So actually, we were expecting even a slightly better number, and so I think we're expecting the company to maintain its net interest margins at 3.8 to 4%. So we're expecting NIMs not to get pressured too much, given the fact that 40% of their book is almost fixed interest rate book.
Okay. We have Gaurang Shah also joining in to talk about the IndusInd Bank numbers. Gaurang, your take on IndusInd Bank and what they've delivered this quarter, and do you think that it warrants an incremental rise in the stock price in the coming days?
Well, Ekta, good afternoon. First, let me give a disclosure that we have maintained a positive coverage for a very long time on IndusInd Bank, and what is positive to see is the consistent delivery on quarter-on-quarter and YOY basis. And given the fact that just a minute disappointment, I think, on the net NPA front, if I'm not mistaken, whatever numbers I've seen so far. Since I've given the disclosure, let me also say that we have set aside a price target of 1080. Of course, this is before what the numbers bank has delivered as we speak. We need maybe some more time to possibly review our target upwards in case if that warrants that amount of positivities. we are on a interest top-down mode, and given the kind of performance that IndusInd Bank has delivered, I don't think there's going to be any great negativity going forward from here on. And some of the numbers as far as the net interest income is concerned, Ekta, I think they have been a tag above our estimates.
The NIMs for IndusInd Bank has come in at 3.88%. So this, I'm reading it from Reuters. So 3.88%, which means that it's gone up by 20 basis points on a quarter-on-quarter basis.
But that's also because they had raised funds. So they have raised around 4,000 crores in terms of the QIP, and these funds came in this quarter only. So it was expected to support the NIMs or the net interest margins by around 20 basis points. So that also has, in addition, added to the good numbers for IndusInd Bank. But there was an expected net interest margin improvement that was going to come through. The other income also, which is a strong component for IndusInd Bank in terms of fee income and what they do on the bottom line, has been steady as well. So the other income as a whole has grown 32% to 783.54 crores. Suruchi, any trouble on the gross NPA absolute front that you don't like? It's around a 30 crores increase on an absolute basis, very marginal.
So I think what we're expecting for the full year is a 0.7% number versus for the quarter it's at 0.77. So I think, things should normalize, and even a 0.77 number I wouldn't say is a very bad number. What we look at is really long-term averages, and long-term average for us should be in the 0.7 to 0.8 range, and we would still consider that an inline performance.
Okay. All right. Gaurang, how would you read the numbers on an overall basis? It's just about been around a 5.6% increase in the gross NPA. The net interest margins have been cushioned because of the recent fundraising, but that's come in better at 3.88%. Other income is steady with a 30% growth. Profit as well as NII, both of them have delivered 30% growth this time round for IndusInd. So it's a clear beat.
I think it's definitely beaten our estimates, Ekta, and the small slippages, I think when you compare it to some of the large public sector banks, I think it definitely warrants a thumbs up. And given the kind of cautious stance that the bank has taken, and we have not seen either gross or net NPA escalate to a higher level at any given quarter, that they have already delivered the numbers. And my sense is that, since I already mentioned about top-down interest rates, I think there is a scope of visible improvement in some of the assets which have gone back, and thereby I think the NPA numbers both on the net and gross front should improve going forward from here on. I think the detail that I would love to see is rather what is their view in terms of their commercial vehicle loan book growth, and what is the outlook going forward, because as far as the numbers on month-on-month MNHCV is concerned, I think they have been shown a tag bit of improvement, and more of that demand has come in from the replacement market. So I believe if the management gives out some clarity post these numbers, it will be interesting to see what's their outlook on their CV loan book.
Okay. All right. Suruchi, anything more that you would in specific like to hear from the management when they do speak or address the press in some time? Or even the analyst call?
So I think mainly in terms of outlook, definitely credit growth, and as well as overall, yield on assets. How do they see that moving, given that, there are sort of the new banks coming in, and the sentiment will improve and people will begin to lend a little more. Even the public sector banks are getting capitalized again. So how do they see their yields moving on the portion of the book that is not fixed?
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Suruchi as well as Gaurang, thank you very much for joining in and talking to us. So that's the IndusInd Bank numbers. Good on all parameters that have been reported. Maybe a little bit of a niggle will be because of the provisions which have risen, but really nothing which the other parameters such as the NII, profit, asset quality which has been sustained should largely override that concern. So IndusInd Bank just about fluctuating. Remember, it's already gone up quite significantly year to date and is trading at expensive valuations of over 3 times. So maybe some amount of routine profit booking post the numbers.
Yes, it is one of the better performing private banks. It's an 18% rally on at least this year YTD basis, but it's better than what other peers like Kotak Mahindra Bank or an HDFC Bank, albeit on a much smaller base. But thanks, Ekta, for taking us through that. With that, we wrap up on